Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Flash Forward, the show where I read and talk about every single Flash comic book. This week we're taking a look at the Flash story arc, The Wild Wests, which is Mark Waid's triumphant return to the Flash, ushering in a new era for Wally West as the Flash, after his mysterious disappearance during Infinite Crisis. Wally West, his wife Linda Park, and their two children, Irey and Jai, were brought back during the Justice League and Justice Society event, The Lightning Saga. I've made a video about that if you want to check it out. And Mark Waid was then brought back to usher in this new era in an arc now known as The Wild West, which consists of all Flash, the one-shot, and Flash issues 231 to 236. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Now, when Mark Waid returned to the Flash, there was a lot of internal drama at DC. We don't know how long Waid's new run was originally supposed to be, but it was cut down to 6 issues after Waid decided to leave the title because DC editorial kept breaking all the promises that they had made for him to bring him back onto the series in the first place. We don't know what most of these promises were, but we do know that one of the promises that was broken was that Daniel Acuna would be the main artist on The Flash, and Daniel ended up not being available most of the time and not doing the work. And this is the last time that Mark Waid would write for The Flash until 2023. And he is supposedly coming back to The Flash again in 2025 to write an arc in between the two current writers. So the old writer, Simon Spurrier, is leaving The Flash. Mark Waid is taking over to do an arc, and then after that, the new writer is going to be taking over. So we'll be able to look at that when we get there. For now, it's all about the Wild Wests. So let's just get straight into it with All Flash. All Flash is written by Mark Waid, accompanied by a group of artists, including Carl Kerschel, Ian Churchill and Norm Rapmond, Manuel Garcia, Joe Bennett and Roy Jose, and Daniel Acuna. We begin with Wally West running through the streets of Los Angeles at super speed. He gives us a bit of a refresher on his history of how he used to be the Kid Flash, worked alongside Barry Allen. Eventually he met Bart Allen, who began as Impulse, and he was annoyed by Bart at first, but eventually Bart became Kid Flash, and Wally began to see him really shine. And you can tell, reading this, that Mark Waid must have had a gun to his head from Dan DiDio, and was forced to write Wally this way, because it's well known that Mark Waid hated Bart becoming Kid Flash, and he hated Bart becoming The Flash. He hated both of them. He tried to stop both of these things from happening, and yet in this book we have Mark Waid writing Wally as if he loved the fact that Bart became Kid Flash, he loved the fact that Bart became The Flash. You can tell Mark Waid probably didn't enjoy having to write this, and did it out of necessity. Wally states that he came back expecting to see Bart and check up on him, but not have to check up on his killer. Because during the Lightning Saga, when Wally was brought back with his family, Batman tells everyone that the Rogues have just attacked the Getty Center, and that it's bad, because this is going on at the same time that Bart Allen was attacked by the Rogues, lost his powers, and was killed by them. So we switch to that situation going on right now, where Bart has just been killed by the Rogues. Iris is there, incredibly upset, and the Rogues feel bad, which I like. I like the fact that they feel bad. That they feel like maybe they went a little too far. They also realize that Inertia, who is the clone of Bart Allen, had tricked them. They thought that by killing the Flash, they would be on some kind of worldwide stage, praised by everybody. That's what Inertia promised them. But what really happened is, now they've all become wanted men. And they blame Inertia for that. So they decide that they're gonna kill Inertia in order to get revenge. But Inertia uses his speed powers to blast through them, and the rest of the rogues decide that they need to go away and get away somewhere because the authorities are gonna come after them eventually. So they use Abracadabra's magic to teleport out. Inertia runs away from Los Angeles and is trying to think of ways to get out of the situation that he's currently in. He thinks maybe Deathstroke can help him. But then it is announced that a tornado has hit Los Angeles. It's not normal for tornadoes to appear in Los Angeles because this isn't a normal tornado. It's Wally West. He emerges from the tornado that he's created and smashes straight into Inertia because he knows that Inertia killed Bart and he wants to get revenge. Grabs Inertia by the scruff of his neck and begins running with him, and Inertia thinks that he's Bart at first, but he sees the tears in Wally's eyes and realizes that it's actually Wally. He's like, "Wally, I thought you were dead." And Wally just smashes straight through the cargo of a train, begins running across the Arctic waters. He's like, "Oh my god, is that how... that's how it happened." And Inertia puts two and two together. He suggests to Wally that when Wally came back, Wally accidentally stole the speed from Bart without realizing, and that's what allowed the rogues to kill Bart. And Wally's just like, "No! Powerless. That's how we were able to nail him. And you know what? He screamed like a little bitch." It takes everything in Wally to hold himself back and not kill Inertia. He thinks of 12 different ways that he can kill Inertia, but Inertia's a kid and he's the clone of Bart. And that's the only thing that saves his life, because when he looks at Inertia, he looks at Bart, and he can't kill somebody who looks like Bart. Wally thinks to himself, "I'm not gonna kill Inertia. I'm gonna do something much worse." A week goes by and Wally meets up with Iris, where they both reminisce about Bart. Iris talks to Wally about how she knew that Bart was supposed to die and sacrifice himself. And when she told Bart this, he went and did it anyway, even though she was trying to warn him. And her and Wally are like, because that's his impulse, which is a fun little nod to his superhero name. Iris then brings up the whole Inertia situation. It's like, "Wally, one of us had to ask you this at some point. What did you do to Inertia?" Wally's just like, "Let's just say we'll never have to worry about Inertia ever again. I stole his speed, Iris, but that wasn't nearly punishment enough. In that last second, I was so charged, so connected to the Speed Force, that I could do much more than simply slow him down. I immobilized him. Permanently. He's still conscious, he still sees and hears and thinks in real time, but he's trapped for eternity in a frozen body, forced to stare with eyes that take 100 years to blink, at the ghost of the man he could never be." So we see that Wally has placed Inertia in a frozen state, put him in the Flash Museum, and has forced him to look at statues of Bart Allen for the rest of eternity, which is pretty badass. That's a great way to torture Inertia. This is his prison. Iris asks what happened to the rest of the rogues, and Wally states that he doesn't know, that they've scattered, and he has no idea what's happening to them right now. And we see shots of the Suicide Squad going after them and taking them down, and if you want to see what happened to the rogues, you can watch my video on Salvation Run. Iris then suggests to Wally that he needs to think less and do more, because he is too trapped within his own mind, and he needs to stop doing that, because now he has a family, he has kids, and his kids have powers like he does. She explains to Wally that he no longer has to be trapped within his own mind doing things by himself. He now has a family that can join him and help him. So she's suggesting that he train his kids to fight crime with him. And Wally asks Iris if she knows what's going to happen in the future with him and his family. And Iris says not really, but in truth, she does. You see through her eyes some glimpses of the future, what's going to happen to Jai and Irey. We see a shot of a bat suit coming out of a flash ring, which is weird. Wonder what that's all about. She says, I don't really know what's going on, but it's going to be one hell of a ride. And so we end all Flash and lead directly into the Flash issue 231. Written by Mark Waid with art by Daniel Acuna, we begin in Keystone City, population 212,891. An ocean liner has just smashed into a pillar at some docks. Ship is exploding and sinking, and people are getting onto life rafts, but there are a lot of people in danger. Luckily, we got a few heroes here to save them. This one woman is going to fall off the side of the ship, but Jai West uses his powers to grab her and save her as she falls. And his powers are to vibrate the molecules in his muscles so that they grow to different sizes, make him much stronger. While he is saving this woman Anna, his sister Irey is saving a guy who is trapped in his car as it sinks into the ocean. And Irey has the ability to vibrate her body through surfaces. So she vibrates through the side of the car, grabs the guy, pulls him through, and tells him to hold his breath as they swim under the water to safety. They go around and use their powers to save a couple more people, and as they're talking to each other about how good of a job they're doing, an explosion happens behind them, but the explosion and the fire is put out by Wally. We don't get to see him, but he just whizzes by, puts out the fire, and that's when the news comes. The news arrives. Julie Greer, reporting live from Pier 3. She wants to get some questions from Irey and Jai, but before they can answer any of the questions, Wally quickly grabs them, because Jai is about to say that they are there with their father. They're not there with the Teen Titans or the Justice League, but before he can say that, they're whisked away, and Wally's just like, what did we say about cameras? Wally's afraid that Linda is going to be mad that they are on camera, because when they get home, she's watching the TV, she sees Jai and Irey on TV, and one of the rules was that Jai and Irey are allowed to go out and be heroes as long as they don't end up on the news. Because they're kids and they're too young to be on national TV. Jai and Irey are told to head downstairs to a lab that they have in their basement, because there's equipment down there that Linda uses to regulate their powers. Linda and Wally decide to have a talk about Irey and Jai, knowing that Irey and Jai are trying to listen in on them. Jai and Irey think that they're secretly listening in on their parents, but Linda knows. She tells Wally to stay out of earshot of them listening. She whispers it to him. Wally's like, you're not mad? Linda's like, no, I'm not mad. I've never been mad. We talked about this and agreed that our kids are very special. Like, no kidding, they're barely past their first birthday, Linda, and look at them. God, we were terrified they'd come out of the womb with any powers. How would we have handled two little tornado twins? Which is a fun little reference to Barry and Iris's future children, who are called the Tornado Twins. Quickly filled in on what happened to the Wests while they were gone. They ended up on a futuristic alien planet that the Flash has visited before. I don't remember the name of it, but they worship the Flash, so they were really lucky to land on this planet, because this planet had all the technology they needed to deal with two superpowered children. Because of their powers, Irey and Jai's metabolisms started going so fast that they began aging rapidly. They also began shitting rapidly, as we see here. Wally is having to change their diapers at super speed because they just keep shitting. It's pretty funny. It's here that Linda learned how to use the technology needed in order to help regulate their kids' powers, because they're still children, their powers are still developing, and so they need this technology to help regulate it and make sure that their powers don't malfunction or anything. It's even suggested that this technology has the ability to change their powers. Possibly. Linda doesn't quite have the tech know-how to do that yet. Wally asks Linda if they are together on the idea of their kids being superheroes. Linda, out of reaction, smacks a photo out of Wally's hand. Wally's just like, the hell? He quickly grabs it. Like, thank you. I can't believe thank you. Honey, talk to me. For the millionth time, yes, absolutely. Let the twins be heroes. Take them out. Show them the ropes. But, no but. The kids have to follow in your footsteps. And we both know why. And Jai and Irey are just like, what? What are they talking about? Wally has a JLA meeting to go to. Linda decides that she needs to go and meet the kids down in the basement. So Irey and Jai quickly vibrate through the floor to get into the basement, so that their parents don't find out that they were listening in on them. Jai gets hooked up to one of the power regulating machines, and Iris dons this weird looking science helmet in order to help regulate his powers. Jai says that he has a question for Linda, and Linda's like, can I change your powers, Jai? No, I don't have the know-how to do that. And he's like, no, it's not about that. My question is, why did the ferry crash into the dock? Linda and Irey look at each other, and this prompts Wally, Jai, and Irey to head to the wreckage of the ferry to find out what caused the crash in the first place. They look around the entire wreckage, they can't find any clues as to who did this. Irey suggests that Wally check the river bottom, so that's what Wally does. Jumps into the river, takes a look at the bottom of the river, and then he sees what looks like a human body floating. Wally's like, oh, poor guy, nobody found his body. He goes over to grab it. Turns out this isn't a guy, this is a thing. It's a weird squid, half human, half squid looking thing, kind of Cthulhu-like. Starts wrapping its tentacles around Wally. Like, oh, let go! And he tries hitting it. Doesn't really do anything. He does manage to get away from it, but it seems that this monster hasn't been thrown off by Wally's punches. As he attempts to swim away, the tentacles grab him again. Wally quickly gets up out of the water. He's like, Dad? And he reaches out for Jai's hand. Jai reaches out for his. And that's when more of these monsters emerge from the water, and one of them grabs Jai by the leg and begins dragging him away from Wally. It's like, Dad! We get a good look at these things. They look pretty horrifying. They've got these giant open mouths with their eyeballs inside it. Like an eyeball inside their mouth. Very Lovecraftian. Jai punches the creature, allowing himself to get free, but he and Irey are surrounded, calling out for Dad. They don't know where he is. They know that he's probably at the bottom of the river, but something that they just realized is that they don't know how to swim. So they decide to head back to Linda, their mum, because she probably knows what to do next. The downside to that is, as soon as they run away from these creatures and end up in the middle of Los Angeles, they don't know how to get back home, because they've always stuck with Wally, and they never thought of the situation where they would ever be separated from him, so they have no idea how to get home. Jai's muscles also start to go back to normal, and whenever he uses his powers, he uses up a lot of energy, so he starts to crash, and Irey's like, you can't crash right now, we're in the middle of the road. And then all of a sudden they hear honking, and a school bus comes straight at them. So Irey uses her vibration abilities to vibrate through the bus. She's like, sup? She takes something from one of the kids, and it turns out to be a packed lunch. There's a jam and peanut butter sandwich inside it. So she gives it to Jai so that he can get some of his energy back. And Jai's like, you stole this. She's like, yeah, from a fat kid, everybody wins. Come on. Shoves the sandwich in his mouth. Irey suggests that they go and talk to a police officer to help find their dad, and Jai tells her not to because they're wearing masks, and Wally always said not to give away their identities. And so Irey starts to break down crying because she misses her mom and she doesn't know where to go, and Jai's just like, don't vibrate on me right now. Look, there's a police station over there. Why don't we go there? We'll tell them that the Flash is in danger. They'll send out squad cars to go and save him. They head to the police station and they realize that the phones are ringing but nobody's answering them, which is really weird. And they go up to one of these policemen asking for his help, but when Jai touches him, the guy literally turns to dust. It's kind of freaky. They're just like, ah! As all of these creatures begin swarming the police station. Jai, run! Where? Run where? And we see that the entire city is being invaded by these things. They're coming up through the floors and out of fountains. Seems like they can travel through any surface. One of the creatures grabs Irey and she tries to vibrate out of its tentacles, but she can't because it's adapting to her powers. And that's when Wally smashes through a nearby window. He uses his arms to create turbine winds to send the creatures flying. He then grabs his kids, and his kids are like, "We're sorry, Dad, like, we're so glad that you're here. Why aren't you talking to us? Are you mad?" Because Wally just seems to be ignoring them. He's not talking. He looks very stern and serious. He heads back to Linda with the two kids. They try to explain to her that their dad must be mad at them because he's refusing to talk. And Wally quickly kisses Linda, or at least that's what you think he's doing. What he's actually doing is spitting up a whole bunch of water that he had in his mouth into her face and into her mouth, which is really gross, but he has a reason for this. See, when he was taken away by one of the creatures, he was taken to their world, and it turns out that their world is full of water with weird chemicals in it that they communicate with. So Wally drank some of the water and gave it to Linda, and by ingesting the water, she was able to see everything that Wally saw, because he's communicating with her. So she sees this weird world with all these creatures, and apparently their leader is planning on invading Earth for reasons that they don't know yet. For revenge over something. Because apparently Earth attacked them or did them wrong at some point in the past. I'm sure we'll find out what that is later. Wally decides that he's going to handle this by himself and that it's too dangerous for Irey and Jai to get involved. He sees on a nearby TV that the creatures are emerging from the docks and stuff, and that people are frozen with fear and don't know what to do. And hearing frozen in fear gives Wally an idea. Apparently Star Labs have been building a synchro cyclotron somewhere in the city. Now, Captain Cold has his cold gun, and he had told Wally in the past that the gun is based on a cyclotron, and the cyclotron emits some kind of EMP field. So what Wally does is he uses his super speed to figure out how the gun works and uses the parts of the gun to alter the cyclotron so that when he switches it on, it creates a massive field of cold energy that freezes everything in the city's vicinity, including the creatures. Now this won't stop their invasion, but it will slow them down and give them enough time to figure out how to stop them for good. Wally's like, "Yeah, I did it, that's awesome, now I can figure out how to take them down. Oh, wait a minute, I'm feeling dizzy all of a sudden." Wally falls to his knees. He realizes that he has symptoms of dehydration, and as he looks ahead, he sees the leader of these creatures approaching him, and this guy just straight up looks like Vilgax from Ben 10. Vilgax, except he's 90% more naked. Which in my opinion, if you ask me, is better. This guy is jacked. Hear me out? As Wally is attacked and dehydrated by the creatures, his daughter Irey vibrates through the ceiling and grabs him. Using her powers, she allows both of them to vibrate through the floor below. One of the creatures, the leader of the creatures, tries to go after them, but gets hit over the head with a fire extinguisher because Linda has arrived with Jai. And she's like, "Stay away from my husband!" Irey says that she's going to stop them from vibrating so that they can land on the floor below, but Wally tells her to just keep going, to allow them to keep going through the floors. The reason why is he reveals later that there was a source of water below, and so he told Irey to let them drop into the water so that he could rehydrate. Linda tells Jai to run, but Jai's like, nah, I can do this. Watch. And he grabs the fire extinguisher. He uses his strength to push the fire extinguisher together until it explodes, shooting all of its foam at the creatures. I forgot to mention that the art has shifted to Fred E. Williams, and I don't like it. It's definitely a step down from Daniel Acuna's art. He lasted 2 issues, and now we've already moved on to a different artist. The force of the exploding extinguisher causes Jai and Linda to fly out of the window, smashing through it, and falling down to the city below. Luckily, they are grabbed by Wally and Irey, who are running past them, where he explains to them that he found a water source and was able to rehydrate. The leader of the creatures tries to attack them again, and Wally just tackles him head on, and is like, Wally! Jai's like, let me at him. You stay back, I called in reinforcements. And we see some lights flying through the city, because Linda has called in the Justice League. She's like, what, you think I'm useless? I can call in the Justice League and they can help us. The leader of the creatures constantly talks about how they're doing this for revenge, but he refuses to tell them why or who attacked them. Who was the one responsible for hurting them? Wally even asks him, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you this today, just know that we will come back. The Justice League arrive and help take care of the creatures, Black Lightning and Green Lantern and Superman, all using their powers to take care of them. As the leader of the creatures warns Wally that even though they've won the battle today, they will come back. He leaves Wally severely dehydrated, and Linda, Jai, and Irey find him, and they're like, we gotta quickly get him to water so that he can hydrate, so they take him home. While they are at home, Wally puts Irey and Jai to bed, and then he and Linda head downstairs and find the Justice League waiting for them down below. The reason why the Justice League is here is they're here about the kids. Wally thinks that they're trying to take his kids away from him. It's like, how dare you? We talked about this, like we're all good with our kids helping us with this. How dare you come and take my children? I will never let you take my kids. And he grabs Irey and Jai and runs away. He's like, if you want my kids, then catch us if you can. But it's revealed that this didn't actually happen, and it was just in Wally's head. He was thinking up a scenario. In reality, they're not here to take the kids away. They're just here to ask Wally to stop his kids from being superheroes, because they're just kids. And one of the heroes that is here, that is trying to talk Wally out of it, is Batman. He's like, I can't believe you of all people are telling me that my kids can't be heroes. The guy who literally had 4 Robins that were all preteens. Which is an amazing moment in this, where finally somebody calls out Batman for being hypocritical. In fact, I'm pretty sure at this very moment, Batman is training his 5th Robin. He's met his son Damian, and Damian is about to become the new Robin. So he's still enlisting children as Robins at this very moment, and yet he has the balls to go to Wally and be like, hey, you shouldn't be training kids to be superheroes. Like, screw you, Batman. Wally and Linda explain to the Justice League why they are letting their kids be superheroes. It's because their metabolisms are causing them to age at a rate, an unpredictable rate. Right now, they've only been around for a year, but Jai and Irey are 8 and 10 years old. And Wally points out that we don't know if that's going to change. We could wake up one morning and they're in their 20s, or their 40s, or dead. So we want them to be able to live their lives to the fullest. And one part of that is being heroes, because they might not be here for long. Batman's the first to apologize. It's like, we're sorry. Anything else then? Just this. You don't have to go through this alone. And this is the kind of the stuff I love. I love when the Justice League are close-knit like this. The Titans have always been written to be a family. Justice League are often written to be more of a team, less of a family. But I'm always open to them being written as a family. I wish more writers did write them as a family instead of just being a group of heroes that just happen to work together. A lot of these characters have known each other for decades. It makes sense that they would be so close. What Wally doesn't know is that somebody was listening in on the entire conversation. It was Jai, which means Jai heard everything, including the stuff about him and Irey aging. So that'd be a pretty nasty thing for a child to have to hear, that they might wake up and be 20 years older or dead. Can you imagine how traumatizing that would be for a kid? Wally decides to scour the city just to see if everybody's doing okay after he did that massive freeze EMP. Running at super speed, he checks in on everybody, and everybody's doing fine because they've gotten used to this. They found out ways to cope with this kind of stuff happening pretty much every day. As he's running, he suddenly hears a noise behind him. He turns around and sees his daughter Irey. He's like, "Dad!" Somehow Wally has summoned her to him. At first he thinks that she was running behind him, but then she explains to him that she was busy watching TV. It's revealed that Irey is a fan of Kim Possible, which just makes her an even better character because that show was awesome. And that she's missing out on Kim's adventures because all of a sudden she was teleported here, or brought here. Wally brings everybody together at home for a family meeting, and we see that Jai is dealing with what he overheard Wally and Linda talk about earlier. They don't know that he knows what they were talking about, that there is a chance that he and Irey could die any day. And that's really depressing, especially for a child to be having that kind of weight in their head. Wally explains to them that he has a magnetic pull with his children. So wherever he is, he can call them to him and they will fly to him, which is a really cool idea. And it's a really cool way for them to travel because his kids don't have super speed. And I like that Wally is so eager to try it out and practice. So he, Jai, and Irey go out and they practice it, and we get to see him run around them in circles, and then he runs across the ocean with the two of them trailing behind him, connected to him by lightning. It's such a cool idea. I love this. And it really supplants Wally as being the magnetic pull of the family who draws everybody closer. It's kind of a literal and figurative way of labeling Wally as the lightning rod of the family. Because he's always been described as Linda's lightning rod, and now he's the lightning rod of his family. Jai's a big fan of the magnetic pull thing because he loves flying. Irey isn't really a fan of it because she sees it as more of them just being pets. She even explains to Jai that she saw a kid with a leash earlier and she hated it, and she thinks of this as being the same thing. But Jai's like, look, if this means that Dad can come and help us whenever we're in trouble, then I think it's great. But what he's not telling Irey is that the reason he likes this magnetic pull thing is because he knows that he and Irey could die, and he doesn't want that to happen. So anything that can stop it from happening, he is a big fan of, which includes this. Irey accuses Jai of being scared, and Jai is like, I'm not scared of anything happening, nothing's gonna happen. And Irey's like, oh, you're being weird, and she runs away. And he starts crying. Jai begins crying and his hands begin transforming. He's like, ugh, weird? And he sees his arms all transforming as being weird. You just feel really sad for him as he's walking through the woods with his arms and legs transforming. He's like, what's happening to me? Weird. I'm so weird. Weird, and she hates me now. As a younger brother of two older sisters, Jai really resonates with my younger self. Being the younger brother and looking up to your older sister and having moments where you think that your older sister hates you and how crushing that can be, so I heavily relate to this. Irey explains to Wally and Linda that Jai's been acting real weird lately and very sad. Like he's really sad about something, but he won't say what it is. Jai continues being sad. I can't even tell her. I can't let her know. Why do we have to die? Why does Iris have to die? And he smashes a nearby rock, which causes it to tumble down a cliff towards the cars below. It's like, no! Dad! And Jai falls, and Wally comes in using his magnetic pole to grab him. He's like, whoa, what happened to you, Jai? And he's like, I don't know. But there's a rock falling. You gotta stop it from hitting that car. So Wally quickly runs through the rock, smashing it and breaking it. It's like, whoa. Close, Dad. Thanks. They bring Jai home, and Linda explains that Jai's powers went out of whack. Somehow his molecules were vibrating into the past, and his DNA was being altered with past DNA, like dinosaurs and stuff. And she suggests that it might have been caused by the amount of mental stress that she can currently sense within Jai, because she gives him a little bit of a look over through his brain chemistry and sees that he's feeling all sorts of things in his head, and they ask Jai if he's okay and not to lie to them, and Jai says yes, he's fine. He lies to them. Well, he's like, you cross your heart that you're okay? He's like, I promise. Superman then appears on the monitor to explain to Wally that the JLA have figured out how to reverse the teleportation technology the creatures that invaded them have. So they may be able to take the fight to them. So the Justice League are planning on invading these creatures in the next issue. Jon Stewart, Wally West, Diana Prince, Jefferson Pierce all arrive at the entrance to this otherworldly creature's dimension. Wally gives them a quick rundown on these creatures. They communicate using water, so they're not going to hear what they're saying about them. Instead, they'll taste it. He actually says to Jefferson, he's like, oh, when the enemy communicates with fluids, if they call your mother a dirty name, Black Lightning, you won't hear it. You'll taste it. He also explains to them that the water is breathable. It's more oxygenated than air. So even though it feels like water, you can breathe in it perfectly fine. You'll just choke a little bit at first when you're getting used to it. They all jump into the water, into this other dimension, and as soon as they get there, they see all the creatures coming straight at them with their ships and guns, and so the Justice League begin fighting. And the reason why Batman and Superman aren't there is because they're busy in their own comic books. Wally says that. He's like, yeah, some of us were too busy dealing with other things, so this is the only people that I could get for this mission, just the four of us. So they're all fighting these creatures, and Wally starts to get a little bit too demanding with Jon Stewart. He's asking Jon for his help, telling Jon to create a sphere around him, because Wally's starting to panic a little bit too much. He's having a hard time breathing, so he wants to breathe some regular air. But Jon is like, can you not demand it out of me? This isn't about who speaks the loudest. You know, use your manners. We're a team. And Wally's like, okay, I'm sorry. It was my kid. No, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm just having a hard time dealing with worrying so much. Jon's like, it's okay. Just stop worrying and focus on the mission. Meanwhile, Linda is having to keep Jai and Irey calm. Jai misses Dad and wants him to come back, and Linda explains to him that he'll come back eventually and Jai will have a chance to play hero again. And Jai kind of looks out the window. After taking some deep breaths of oxygen from the sphere that Jon Stewart created around him, Wally realizes that the water that they've been breathing in this other dimension has been causing them to hallucinate all of these creatures, and that they're not real, and that the creatures must be in Keystone City right now, attacking. And so he tries to tell the other Justice League members to stop fighting these things because they don't exist, but they won't listen to him. And he comes to the conclusion that he's not going to be able to break them out of this, because not even Superman could do that. So he's going to have to save Keystone City alone. So Wally heads back to Keystone City, where he sees that the creatures have already attacked and have started disintegrating a lot of the business district. Luckily, this is a holiday day, so a lot of the people that live in the business district and in the city are gone. And so the casualties are minimum, though people still died. We see a woman who has been completely dehydrated in her car. Pretty horrifying. Wally's still going to make these creatures pay for the few people that have died, because he cares about it regardless of how many people die. If a single person dies, he's getting revenge. Wally heads home to Linda and Irey and finds that Jai is missing. He went to go and fight the creatures alone. Irey wanted to go after him, but she felt it was better that she stayed there and protected her mum. And Wally's like, you made the right choice. Alright, I'm gonna go out and I'll find your brother. I'll use my new ability to bring him to me. So he runs out, uses his magnetic pull to pull in Jai. And when he does, Wally's mad at first. He's like, what the hell were you thinking? Alright, I gotta calm down. I'm sorry, Jai. I didn't mean to shout it at you like that, but what were you thinking? It's okay, Dad. I know. You don't have to protect me and stuff. I don't want you to. Wait, you know? What do you know? I'm going to die. Me and Iris. I heard you talking to the Justice League about it. Wow. We knew you were carrying something heavy, Jai, but this? Why didn't you talk to us? I wanted to once, and I just didn't. The rest of the time, Iris was around and she doesn't know. Wow. Buddy, I really want to say you heard it all wrong. That you'll live a long and happy life. But A, I don't have time to mess around, and B, I don't know that about anyone. All I know is your mum and I are going to do everything we can to keep you guys healthy. There's nothing we care about more. See, someone has to look after us if we get to old age. And you're all that's keeping me from ending up in a nursing home with Batman. I don't think I need to tell you how that would be. And I worry too much. That thing you said about not wanting to be so protected? I know. So if this is how you want to play it, let's do it. Well, we still have a city to save. So Wally and Jai rush into battle against the creatures, and this is just such a great moment. I love this moment between Jai and Wally, where they're just having a honest conversation between father and son about these things that are weighing on Jai's mind, and Wally doesn't lie to him. He doesn't say, oh no, you and Iris aren't going to die. He's honest with Jai and says he doesn't know about that. But it's not just them. He doesn't know how long anyone is gonna live. But what he does know is that he's gonna do everything he can to give Jai and Iris, or Irey, the lives that they deserve. Long lives. Wally and Jai fight the creatures together, but Jai gets hit by one of their dehydration guns, which dehydrates him to the point of near death. Wally's like, Jai! Quickly runs over to him, grabs him, super speeds him over to some water to hydrate him. Like, alright, rehydrated you at super speed. You're okay now. And then he sees the guy that was responsible and is like, hey you! That was my son, you filthy! And he runs over and punches the creature, takes the creature's dehydration gun, runs over to Jai, brings Irey with him, and then gives Irey the dehydration gun and his dimensional teleporter so that Jai and Irey can teleport to the creature's world in order to help the Justice League, while Wally goes off and meets with Linda. And what he does is, he brings the battery from the dehydrator gun with him to Linda to study it, and Linda reveals to Wally that the technology of the dehydrating gun is the same technology as Savoth, the planet that they were sent to during Crisis, like during Infinite Crisis, after they disappeared. The place where they spent all those years, and Irey and Jai grew up from babies to their age now. The creatures have been talking about how they were invaded, and Wally is like, oh, maybe Savoth were the ones that invaded the creatures. And Wally's like, there's no way that that would happen. There's no way that Savoth would do that, because they are good people. And Linda points out to Wally that he has a fragment of Speed Force that he uses to travel from Earth to Savoth. It looks like a little lightning bolt, and it can allow him to travel back and forth. And there are two of them. There's one on Savoth and one on Earth, and he can travel between them. So, if they reverse it, the technology of the Speed Force fragment, they could send the creatures away. But there are also consequences to that will be brought up later. Jai appears in the other dimension and the Justice League members see him and it looks like he's drowning, so they quickly go over to save him. But that's when Irey pops in and hits them with the dehydration gun, which draws all of the hallucination water out of them so that they can finally see that all these creatures are fake. And they're like, why were you drowning? And Jai was like, that was Dad's idea. He told me that you were in code red mode and that the only thing that would draw you out of it is if you saw a kid drowning, so he told me to pretend I was drowning. And they're a little bit mad about it, but at the same time, they're like, you did a good job, you saved us, now we can go help the city. So they all head to Keystone City, and they start fighting the creatures together, and Wally shows up, and he's like, sorry about tricking you with my children. He's like, I promise never to mention it in front of Batman. My kid's tricking you. I swear, I'm going to. Gotta go. Wally's fixed on punching some answers out of the leader of the creatures, so he finds them, smashes straight into him through a wall, and then he grabs his Speed Force fragment and uses it to travel to Savoth. And when he gets there, he meets up with Gorflack, who is the leader of Savoth, and drops the leader of these creatures in front of his feet, and that's when we discover that this isn't the first time that Wally has fought these creatures, technically. A long time ago, a few years ago, he came to Savoth with Bart Allen and fought this one villain, this weird-looking purple alien who was using Speed Force energy, and they turned it back on him. It backfired and sent this purple alien thing falling into another dimension, and the dimension warped his DNA, and this is the ancestor of these creatures. So he transformed into this weird Vilgax-looking creature, and then these guys were all born from him, and they saw it as a curse, and that Savoth invaded them by sending this guy to them. But it turns out that the Savoth aren't the invaders, these creatures are. Savoth didn't do anything wrong. That's the invasion of which you spoke? That's how your legend remembers it? That Gorflack's people deliberately poisoned you? That's not how it happened. You started this. Do you understand me? You invaded Horvath. You stole and perverted their weapons and their technology and their... And as he grabs the creature, he notices that the creature has a Speed Force fragment embedded into his chest. And that's when Wally puts two and two together. That is how the creatures are traveling from their world to Wally's, by using the Speed Force fragment that he also uses to travel between worlds. They've been homing in on Wally's Speed Force fragment specifically. So Wally decides that he has to make the tough decision to destroy his Speed Force fragment in order to send the creatures back to their dimension so that they can't come back. But in doing so, he will also sever the ties he has to Savoth and will never be able to return there. So he says his goodbyes to Gorflack, and then he smashes the fragment, which sends all the creatures back to their dimension, and sends Wally back to Earth. So, goodbye Gorflack, goodbye Savoth. We get a happy ever after ending with the Wests as they return home, and Wally congratulates his kids on being heroes, because they're not just a family. They're a family of superheroes. And we get this lovely little shot of Wally and Linda hugging each other, and then Irey and Jai hugging each other because they care about each other. It's a really beautiful ending to this story arc. And that's the end of the Wild Wests, and the end of Mark Waid's return to the Flash. I really enjoyed this arc. I think it was a great introduction to Wally's children and this new dynamic that the West family has. One of my favorite things about this arc is how important Linda is to this new dynamic. Instead of her just being the mum or the wife who is just there, she actually gets to take part in the action. She's kind of the tech guru or the oracle of the Flash family, which I'm a really big fan of. I'm a huge fan of the idea of Linda being the oracle to the Flash family. Unfortunately, later writers would steer away from this and she would become just the wife of the Flash and the mum of the Flash's children, and nothing really more than that. Hopefully, more writers will come in and steer her back towards being the tech guru who helps stabilize her kids' powers and also communicate with the Flash when he's out on missions, because I just think that's a great dynamic to have. I think it's a lot more interesting than just making her a speedster as well and giving her speed powers. And that's it for this week's video. Next week, we are going to be looking at the final issues during Wally's first run as the Flash. That's right, we're leading all the way up to Flash Rebirth, which is the return of Barry Allen. So look forward to that. And we'll see what happens to Wally West leading up to Final Crisis, and why he ends up having to step down from being the main Flash. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.